Hello, I'm Simon Mitchell, and literally just on the way back from the photography show, came in for services and bumped into Jason Lanier and Emily Rinaldo. So, a couple of people who I wanted to speak to. Jason being a very good fashion photographer. So, first of all, what got you into photography?
What got me into photography? I think it was, when I was a kid, I watched my dad as a hobbyist do photography, and watching him document places and look at things from that standpoint, and having a visual memory of a wonderful moment of your life got me into photography when I was about 8, and then I was a paper boy, started delivering papers when those still existed. When I was about 13, 14, saved up all my money, bought my first Nikon. And that was a huge deal to save up that amount of money for a camera. And I bought my first camera when I was about 15 years old. And from there on, I was hooked. I started shooting and kept shooting until I had to get a real job in my early 20s. And did a real job for about a decade, and then figured out that real jobs are for the birds. And then I went and decided to become a photographer, and I've been doing it now for 12 years.
Fantastic. Yeah, great. Now, people often expect a photographer to have a studio, but you're very successful without one. So can you tell us about that?
The world is my studio. Studio spaces are typically very bland and boring, and everybody can do the same thing, and there's the regular muslin backdrop, the gray backdrop, white backdrop, black backdrop. And I'm not trying to insult any studio photographers out there, but even when Emmy and I go and do studio sets, we tear apart the studio, and we treat it very differently than most people do. So I had a studio in Beverly Hills for almost 2 years, and I went there about once every 2 months. So I got tired of paying the rent and decided to just make the world my canvas.
Fantastic, yeah, and why not? Is there any assignment that has made you really proud?
There's a lot of assignments that have made me very proud. I think if there's one that stands out, it would probably be when I was asked to go and document some of the poverty and some of the struggles of the people in Ethiopia. And I went there 3 times, and that was truly a life-changing experience to do that, and to help the organization that's working out there out of the ashes, to help them to they broke fundraising sales records after we went out, and we released a documentary on it. And I don't say that in a prideful way. I say it in a way that I'm very happy that anything that we did benefited those kids. So that got us on CBS News and over in the States, and it was a great deal. So I'm proud of that, and I'm also proud of the first urban exploration that I did that really took a lot of people's notice. That was in the Six Flags, New Orleans. Went in there after Hurricane Katrina and documented it, and just stuff like that. I went out there on my own and did that, and that got me in People magazine, and I don't know, just fun stuff like that. I don't know, I've had a really diverse career, and it's been fun to do it. But anything that I can do, all cliches aside, anything that I can do to help somebody feel better about themselves, and I can do that with a camera, makes me feel edified.
Fantastic, yeah. You mentioned urban exploration. Have you found many interesting places to see through that?
I have. I know Emily has as well. What's some of the places you've seen, Em?
Well, a lot of the East Coast in the States is full of abandoned buildings, and I'm from the East Coast, and it's actually, I'm a photographer first, and Jason's always been a huge inspiration. So I found him, I started to become one of his fans through that urban exploration, and then we started working together. You know, I signed up for a photo walk, and hey, it led us together. But yeah, there's quite a bit of abandoned buildings on the East Coast in the States.
Yeah, Emmy and I just did a shoot at an abandoned swimming pool in the United States, which was really, really cool. So yeah, we have a lot of things on plans, you know, going to Chernobyl and stuff like that. But every country we go into, we always look for abandoned places. Over here in the UK, I mean, I've been in the castle where Rudolf Hess flew in, you know, during World War II, trying to get away from, you know, everything that was going on. And I've been in that castle, and just all these crazy urbex places. I don't know, it's amazing. And it's funny you mention that, because it was my urbex work that got me noticed by the organization in Ethiopia and motivated them to contact me. And what they said to me was, you find the beauty in the decay. And that's why they asked me to come out to Ethiopia. Because they said, we don't want a video where everyone's crying and miserable. We want to inspire people. And so my work out there had a different look and feel to it than what a lot of other people do. And that was awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah. Really interesting. So what camera equipment are you currently using?
What are we using, Emmy?
He's using all of them.
I'm a big Sony shooter. Most people know me because I switched from Nikon to Sony. And I was a Sony artisan and worked with Sony brand very exclusively for a while. But now I am working with all of the different brands and all the different camera companies, and we're doing that just for the benefit of my YouTube channel, actually. And we do a lot of educational stuff, and we came to the conclusion a while ago that last year that sticking to one brand is, and I love the people with Sony, but sticking to one brand helps to alienate people, especially in the photography industry, and it doesn't make us relatable. So we definitely are on a different track to try out different stuff. So as we speak right now, what are you using? What are you using, Emmy?
He's got the Canon EOS R. We just did a shot with the Olympus, mirrorless, and yeah, Nikon. Still playing with Sony.
But I'd say definitely on the mirrorless track of things. I'm not going backwards to DSLRs. I'm definitely on the mirrorless track. I was one of the first ones to embrace mirrorless. And so, yeah, we're on the mirrorless track, and that's where we're going to stay. But, you know, Canon and Nikon and Panasonic all came out with full-frame mirrorless last year, so it was a great time for us to branch out.
Fantastic. Great. And if somebody wanted to be a fashion photographer, what advice would you give them?
Practice. Practice. And start practicing your posing, start practicing your lighting. You're not going to be a great fashion photographer without lighting and posing, and you're not. And this is the best model I've ever worked with. She's amazing.
Thank you.
And I mean, do you have any advice along those lines?
You have to be creative. You have to be creative. You have to think outside the box. So being willing to, with regard to fashion photography, it's not always about how expensive your outfit is, but how many ornate details you can add to the piece. So, for example, what can you make by gluing on a bunch of flowers? Or we just recently did a shoot where we were roaming through Salvation Army. It's a secondhand shop, and we found this reflector that goes into a car to keep the sun off the dash, and we cut that up, and I was gluing pieces to my face, gluing pieces to my eyebrows. I adhered some of it to my dress, so it really gave it some volume. So just thinking outside the box and being creative.
Yeah, she's an amazing stylist, and that makes an enormous difference. So what she said is right up her alley, and I think it is about being creative and different, because in the world of fashion photography, people don't want bland, they want different.
Fantastic. And you've got a huge social media following. Are there any ways you've increased your followers?
Don't be boring. I mean, seriously, do different stuff. Be willing to be yourself. Be willing to show sides of you that are maybe something that may be a little hard for you to show. And one thing I'd say is don't sell out. Lots of folks sell out. They do. Somebody just did a shoot that is ridiculous, and they did a shoot in a bikini just to get views. It's just idiotic. And so what I would say is be true to your brand, be true to yourself, consider yourself an artist. And honestly, I became a YouTuber only because that's a social media platform that I published on. It was never a concerted effort to be big on YouTube. I just used YouTube the same way I was using Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So I think if I were to say anything, it's be true to you, who you are as an artist, and publish on all the different various mediums, and you can find success in doing so. But if you start chasing the YouTube likes and views and everything else, you're going to lose your way as an artist.
Art first, and then whatever else comes after.
Yeah, if people like the videos, great. If they don't, I'm okay with it. I'm about creating my work first. The views and everything else, that's just the cherry on top. But if you start chasing views and likes, it's a rabbit hole you're never going to find the end of.
Okay, cool. And have you got any exciting projects coming up?
What do we have, Emmy? We're going down to London now.
We are. There's a 3-day advanced lighting creative workshop. In May, we're going to Ireland for another workshop, Dublin.
We're going to Venice.
Venice, Africa. Lots of good stuff.
We're doing a wedding on glaciers, taking helicopters.
Yeah, in Alaska. It's going to be pretty exciting. It's a full year for us.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff going on.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time and interrupting your meal to talk. I really appreciate it. So if people want to know more, what are your contact details? Website, YouTube?
Perfect. Emmy first.
You can find me on Instagram at mexplores. That's em.explores. And you can find Jason, Jason Lanier Photography on Instagram, or you can go to jasonlanier.com for his website. If you guys want to sign up for a workshop, go to jasonlanier.com/2019.
Yeah, and it should be noted, I know she's beautiful and she's a great stylist, but she's a photographer first. So if you want to check out her photography work,
Oh, thanks.
you can go to emilyrinaldo.com.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And, well, if you've enjoyed this, then please like the video. And if you want to see more videos, click subscribe below. And, yeah, thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks. You too.